And I'm going to, okay. I hope everyone can see my screen. I'm going to start. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for hopping on this call. I just want to go over the application workshop and for the 9% for the upcoming round. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat. Cassandra's watching the chat for me, or I'll open it to questions as well. So the mission and vision and values for NIFA is right here. In this presentation, along with the video recording, will be available on the website probably in a couple of days. I have to wait for the recording to fully upload and then get it to marketing, and hopefully they can get it up by the end of the week. Okay, the agenda for today will do an introduction of staff and the DED staff that's on the call. I'll go over the submittal dates, how to apply for the low-income housing tax credit and DED application, some helpful information when you're going about your application, and then we will have an information on the Section 811 provided by Denise and Liz. I'm not sure who's presenting, and then we'll have some time for questions if you guys have any. I am Pam Skinner, and I am the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Allocation Assistant Manager here at NIFA. We have Tammy Bird from the compliance team for the low-income housing tax credit in the room. Oh, yeah, they won't be able to hear you. We also have Denise in here. I forgot I'm using the microphone from my computer. She's on the program development and administration. And Liz Woods from program development and administration. Robin Ambrose is also here in the room. And then we have Cassandra Stark online and Sarah
Right.
Takota from NIFA. I'm not sure who else is online from NIFA. And then Michelle from, you're muted, Michelle. Well, we have Michelle Grimes. There you go. You got yourself unmuted. Okay. The submittal dates, and that should say 27 tax credits. I'm sorry, I will fix that before it gets posted online. The full application will be due May 7th in this year. And then the threshold deficiency corrections will be due on July 9th, which we should be able to get you any threshold issues by the middle to late June. So you'll have a couple of weeks to turn those around. And we will be using a different software than we did the last time. I know we've used Reviewer, but we will be using our Engage Workspace platform. We found it is a much easier and simpler way to stay connected with you during the application process. And you can ask questions if you had any in there, and it's just a little bit simpler to do it that way rather than through the Review online software.
Just,
And
just sorry, Pam. Just to clarify,
okay,
the Engage is used for the threshold deficiencies. We're still using Reviewer
yes.
for the app.
Yes, that's right. Well, we use Reviewer for the application, which I'll go to the link here in a little bit, and then Engage will be used for the threshold deficiency. We have a tentative time of doing the conditional reservations at the August board meeting. Okay. Applying for the low-income housing tax credit program. That link takes you right to our website, and it takes you here. It also provides the application deadlines. Oh, hold on. Thank you. It's not sharing the right screen. Is it not? What? Why won't it share the screen? Okay. Stop share. I'll share it now. Nope. There it is. Okay. There we go. No. What are you guys seeing right now? Are you still seeing the presentation?
The
No,
website.
we're seeing the website.
Oh, you're seeing the website? Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure because in our room here at NIFA, all I see is the presentation. Okay. So the deadlines are here as well. So you can, if you forget them, they're really easy right here. The link to apply is here. I think several of you have applied before. We have a little reminder here. If we have any updates throughout the application cycle, we will post them here when you log on to fill out the application, in addition to providing an email that gets sent out to everybody. And then we also have the link to the website if you needed to get quick access to any of the forms or the documents. So when you log in, you just create an account. And if you haven't created an account before, it will ask you to create an account. I've created one, and so I'm here. I just wanted to show you how it looks. You come in here, when you come back into edit your application, you hit the edit button, and that's when you can actually edit your application. I'll save and log out, but then when you come back in, you can also add another submission. So if you're going to apply for more than one application, you can just hit another application and it will create another application for you. That is how, and then the website has, on our website, you can go to the forms and documents where our qualified allocation plan is. And we have a section here for all of the forms that we have that are already, that are fillable. And I just wanted to make sure everyone knew where you could find those, as it's an easy way to get your exhibit done easily. And I'm going to go back to sharing the presentation. Maybe. Okay. Can you see the presentation now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, it's just some reminders. When you're doing your exhibits, we like to have the exhibits, the file named with the exhibit number, like exhibit 1 and then your development name. It's a lot easier for us because we can only limit it to 20 characters with our system, so we don't have any issues with downloading and accessing them on our end. We do ask you to limit it to 20 characters with no special characters as well. Make sure that each exhibit has its own unique name. That way, when we download them, we're not like, well, we have 2 exhibit 100s when we're not sure which one should be then going to. We can figure it out, but it's a lot easier if you literally exhibit 100, exhibit 102, they keep them separate. And just make sure that when you upload the file from your system, it has that same, you're saving it in your system as exhibit 100. So when you upload it, it'll come into the system into reviewer as exhibit 100 as well. Reviewer might rename it a little bit, but it also just helps us make sure that we associate it with the correct exhibit. Please don't provide any cover pages with your exhibit. It can bog down some of the systems just trying to download them all, because we wait for all the applications to get uploaded and submitted, and then we download them all at once. All exhibits should be PDF with the exception of Exhibit 18 and Exhibit 111, which are Excel documents. Every other document that is uploaded should be a PDF. And no zip files as well, please. The PDF just secures it on your end and on our end, so that way it's a lot easier. For each exhibit, there should only be one exhibit uploaded. You won't have the ability or opportunity to upload more than one document per exhibit. Some general information for the Exhibit 100 levels, they start on page 17 of the application for the 9%, and the other selection criteria starts on page 27. As I showed you earlier on our NIFA website, all fillable required exhibit templates are on the website as well, so then you don't have to worry about copying and pasting. Make sure when you're looking at the application and completing your exhibits, you are reviewing all of the requirements that are detailed in the application. We don't want you to miss anything, and we can't, there's not enough time to be able to go through the whole application and say, here's all the requirements. So we really ask you to make sure to review them and make sure you're getting everything that's required for that exhibit in there. And just these are some things to keep in mind. We do not alter any documents, including third party verifications that have been any documents that have been signed by a third party. We won't accept them, and we will reach out to you and let you know that if we find any that had been. We will be having the NIFA multifamily lending just like we did in the last application cycle. Again, just remember those requirements of the exhibits throughout the application, and they will be listed as well on the online application. If you have any reviewer issues and you're able to contact reviewer through the chat, we suggest you do that, but then also email myself and Cassandra and Sarah, just so we can keep a record of what the issues are. And a lot of times we may need to step in to help facilitate the correction and getting those issues dealt with and cleared up so you don't have any issues. Okay, some threshold issues that we've seen. Again, make sure you're looking at the requirements for the exhibit and you're following all of them. One of the things that we've seen repeatedly in the Exhibit 100 is we've changed from the architect having to list out all of the different units to just the architect certifying to the Exhibit 111 and the little chart at the bottom of the unit information tab. That's all the architect really has to do is certify that all of the information that's provided in that chart, which comes from your unit information tab, is accurate and reflects the correct information for the project. On the Exhibit 100, make sure you have your floor plans and the individual schematics for each of the different unit types and label them with the unit sizes. Sometimes we have a hard time deciphering depending on what's on the plans, if that's the unit for the one bedroom and what size it is. So we really ask that you make sure to label it. That way we can clearly see which unit is with what square footage. For the Exhibit 102, make sure to use the most up-to-date form, which I know is January 2021, I believe. I don't think there's been any updated form, but make sure to use the most up-to-date form that's on the link in the application. For the Exhibit 103 for site control, make sure that you're providing the evidence of current ownership, if it's required, an appraisal, and the attestation form. Make sure to review the requirements for the Exhibit 103 to make sure what's going to be required for which exhibit you will be submitting. For the Exhibit 108 and 116, we ask that the sources that are provided in the other sources of income match the Exhibit 111 equity tab. We don't need the amounts of your other sources. We just like to have a list of the other sources because we do know that the sources can change. So as long as you list out your different sources there, that will be acceptable. For the Exhibit 110, this exhibit will be required for the multifamily lending program, and that's just a way to show that if your project does not get the multifamily lending product, that you do have a backup. So you could just provide a letter of interest from a bank that you're wanting to work with. That way we know that you will have another option if you do not get the multifamily lending. As a reminder on the Exhibit 111, it's really important to use whole numbers as we don't see the decimals, and it's really hard to make sure our numbers are matching your numbers to make sure we get the accurate underwriting. This really comes into play a lot when you're having a mixed income development and we're showing a different square footage for the LIHTC units than you are. So make sure that all of your numbers are whole numbers and there's no rounding going on the workbook. And make sure the reserve requirements are correct. We did increase the reserve requirements to 300 for seniors and 350 for the other projects. So just make sure to look that up as well. And it's listed in the application. We did increase the points for Crown to assist just with those. They're a little bit difficult, so we do have a little extra requirements for the Crown. There's listed in the application. The mixed income developments, we did add language in the application to state that it has to be within the same bin as the LIHTC project. So you can't condo out your mixed income units for points, they have to be with the LIHTC units. We did provide a scoring mechanism for the development of market rate units, which would be in conjunction with the LIHTC project being developed. So that can be outside of the LIHTC project, just it would be with the development of market rate units, which are then not put in the same bin as the LIHTC units. So we tried to accommodate for those developments that do tend to condo out sometimes or want to build some market rate units. There are some additional requirements when getting those points that you will want to make sure to check the application for, because they still need to be able to place in service before the 8609s are released, because that's part of the application. You're getting points for it. So we want to make sure that they are developed at the same time. We do have the development of housing in Greater Nebraska for the non-metro areas. And that is for RUCs 7, 8, and 9. You get a point for building in the communities that are listed in the application. And I don't have them off the top of my head. There's a lot of them. So if you want to know if your project is in one of those RUCs, you can look at the application, and all of the communities are listed under the different RUCs that would qualify for that point. For Exhibit 205, we did add that you have to provide a proof of delivery, because this is for the PHA referral. You want to make sure that it's just like when you send the letter to the mayor or the official for the local jurisdiction. You want to make sure to provide that they did receive it, either by showing your confirmation that it was tracked and it was delivered, or an email response showing the letter, the exhibit, along with the delivery confirmation. Since we did remove that, they don't have to acknowledge it on that form. We did in Exhibit 206 add in the reduction of points if you've requested tax credits, an increase in tax credits for another project within the past 12 months. So just know that if you've asked for additional tax credits in a different project, that you will receive a deduction of 3 points for that request. We did put that in with this QAP. For Exhibit 208, we do have the NYFA LIHTC compliance training. You can receive points for the NYFA LIHTC compliance training, and depending if I know our conference is it's the middle of April this year. Last year was really close to the deadline for applying, but we will work with compliance. If you said that you attended this year's, we will work with compliance and getting a list of those who actually did attend, so we can compare it. So just in case you don't get your certificates in time showing that you did attend the training, we will work with compliance as well to make sure that we have a list of individuals who did attend both days of training. For Exhibit 208, we want current and valid documentation for the housing credit certified credit program. The way you will show that you are current and valid, we do have that in the exhibit examples, which I can pull up here in just a second, and it shows you exactly what we want. It's like a screenshot of the website showing that you're current and you're valid in all of the requirements that you have to do. That will be what you will submit for your exhibit. Exhibit 209, instead of having all of your architect plans in this exhibit, we've actually paired it back with Exhibit 100. So make sure that all of the items that need to be labeled are labeled on your Exhibit 100 plans. That would include like the community room, laundry laundry in the unit or a community laundry room, your playground, those types of things are all identified with an asterisk that needs to be identified and labeled on the Exhibit 100. That way we can see them clearly and be able to give you points for those items that you're wanting to take for your application. For Exhibit 210, the Section 811, we will go over that in a little bit. We'll let Denise present some information on Section 811. You will have to choose one of the green standards that is in Exhibit 209, and it is labeled that you must take one, you must identify which green standard you'll be using for developments with the Section 811. And those will count for all of your 6 points for the design standards. There is a difference from the leverage and collaboration from the last QAP. You can find the information for the leverage on Exhibit 111. It's the development cost schedule. We actually put in formulas to actually formulate it, so it'll show you exactly how much leverage you are using for your development, so then you could put the points associated onto your application. That way you see what we see when we're determining what the leverage and collaboration will be for your development. For Metro only, we do have the areas of high opportunity, and I will click this link and take you to the website to show you how to navigate the system in here in just a moment, but this is only for metro areas. In Exhibit 218, that's the DHHS DBH referral. This is the same as Exhibit 205. We do ask for proof of delivery with this as well. And so you'll want to make sure to provide the proof of delivery of that as well.
And also make sure it's sent to the correct region.
Yes, make sure it's sent to the correct region office. We do have a link to the different regions, and we show them on the question, which the regions are. Just make sure you're sending it to the correct office. Thank you, Cassandra. We will not be having the housing and healthcare this year. It was all spent the past allocation round, so that will not be an option for this current application. And we do not have any current natural disaster declaration areas. I just wanted to make a note of those just so you guys are fully aware. I will take you to the areas of high opportunity. It can look a little cumbersome. So you find your census tract, as you can see all these little green. Can you see my screen?
No.
No.
Okay. Let me share the right one. Okay. I'm assuming you can now.
Yes.
Okay. So you can see all the different little green dots that you can click on, and they will provide you what your point system is. So it shows you your total points, scores, and then it breaks it down by each different area. There are 2 sections for each. There's 4 sections with 2 different point categories in each of them. For the bigger communities like Omaha, it is a little bit different. You have all these census tracts. You will have to come in and find your census tract. So this one, the one that comes up first, that ends in 6302. So you'll just use this arrow to scroll through to find your correct census tract. And then you can scroll down and see what your total points are and the breakout of those points, so you can add them to your application as well. This is a system that we use when looking at this scoring section. So I wanted to make sure you understood how to use it. It can be a little confusing when you're looking at it. You're trying to click on a certain one and it's not going. Since we are here, I will show you the exhibits examples chapter, just so you can understand how we are
And we
wanting
do
the
have a
H.
question too,
Okay,
when you're ready.
go ahead.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Does attendance at the NIFA Expo in 2024 or 2025 compliance training qualify for points on applications submitted in May of 2026?
Yeah, so attendance, I believe that we would take last year's or this year's. It has to be
The
within the 2 years.
20,
So last
yeah,
year's would work
2025.
or this year's would work. Yeah. So attendance at the LIHTC training in April of 25 would work for April, for the May, for this current round for 27. As I scroll down here, can you see the exhibits?
Yes.
Okay. So for Exhibit 208, like I was talking about, the Housing Credit Certified Professional, this is just showing an example from this website. You can go to this website and you can search by name, and it just shows a snapshot showing that I am current and I have a valid HCCP certification. That's what you would submit as your exhibit. I'll go back to sharing the PowerPoint. Can you see the PowerPoint now?
Yes.
Okay. And I think before we get to section 811, we were going to let Michelle do a little announcement before we do that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let you know that what's left in the home allocation is $668,631.51. And for the National Housing Trust Fund is $431,847.36. And the site visits is Exhibit 10. If you can get them in as soon as possible so we can get them assigned out and back to you. And Exhibit 111, 18, and 100 is due to me via email before the application is submitted, so we make sure you have the right number of home or HTF units in your pro forma. And that's all I had.
Thanks, Michelle.
You bet.
All right. This is Denise, and we're going to review, as many of you know, NYFA was awarded HUD Section 811 rental assistance, and it is going to be paired with LIHTC. So this is a brief overview. Of course, any of you that do participate will get a much more in-depth training as we go live with the program. So the overview is the Frank Melville Act was updated in 2010. It used to be more of a sticky voucher type program, but now they've done a project rental assistance so that the vouchers actually aren't in one building, they are scattered site, and the units are more spread across the state instead of just in one location. 811, it provides project-based rental assistance, and it's for extremely low-income individuals that have disabilities. This required us to partner with a state-level agency so that we can also connect with community-based services, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And the funds provide the rental assistance, and NYFA is the administrator, and it pays for those admin costs as well. There's no capital or development funding in this program. Support services are arranged by the state agencies, but the tenant, always remember the tenant participation is voluntary. They can opt in or opt out at any time. That does not affect their eligibility, but they must be eligible at any time to have those wraparound services. So some of the jargon that comes along with this program is the first one that will probably be one of our first steps is called an ARAC, an agreement to enter into the contract. This is optional, but it's kind of a good idea to secure the units with NYFA saying, hey, this is how many units we'd like to use, and kind of just formalize, we might be under construction, but this will be coming. Then the next one is the RAC, the Rental Assistance Contract. This is a 20-year commitment between the owner and NYFA as we move forward with 811. The next one is called the User Agreement. It's a 30-year commitment, and that is actually a statutory requirement that we have that level of commitment to the program. The other thing that is used is a HUD model lease, so we don't get to veer from the model lease at all. That is what has to be used. And we have copies of that and the most up-to-date copy that HUD has given us. The other thing that we use is a system called TRACS. It's called the Tenant Rental Assistance Certification System. And that is where we process the tenant data and the vouchering process. We will actually be working with an outside entity to do this portion because it's pretty darn complex. And they have access to other HUD systems as well to help us with the processing and pulling down of money. Another thing to keep in mind is the projects need to stay under 12 units. Otherwise, it will trigger the Davis-Bacon labor standards. Nspire inspections are required at least every 3 years with this project. And environmental reviews are required for new and existing properties. Our focus is primarily new if possible. And if one has been completed within the last 5 years and there have been no changes, there is not one that will be needed. This kind of breaks down the different relationships of those involved with the HUD 811 program. So as you can see on the very top center is NIFA. Obviously, that's us as the administrator. Who we'll be working a lot with on the forefront is DHHS. You can see that off to the side, Department of Health and Human Services. We're going to be working with them on identifying approved agencies across the state that can provide the wraparound services as well as making referrals into the program. We will work collaboratively with DHHS on maintaining a wait list, and we will be screening out for eligibility, which is our next slide. But we will be working jointly with them and problem solving at any time, any situations that might come up within that first initial getting them on the wait list. And then as you can see, there's a link between NIFA and the LIHTC property owners and managers. Obviously, we'll work closely with the LIHTC team here and compliance team, and we'll also work closely with you as property owners with getting you the racks and the model leases and all the necessary documentation that we would need to communicate with you. As you can see, there's also an arrow linking to the LIHTC property owners and the referral agencies. They can oftentimes provide mediation. If some of you have worked with people with disabilities, sometimes they need that extra little bit of support. Like they don't know how to read a lease, so they might need someone to guide them through that. They might need some basic living skills, so they can come and help them learn how to keep their apartments cleaned and things like that. So if you as a property manager notice like, hey, there's this person struggling, this can be a resource for you to reach out to and maybe get some mediation or get some extra services wrapped around. So that communication can really be an open line to help the tenant be successful in their unit as well. And then the LIHTC property owners and managers obviously have communication with the tenant because they're living in that property. Standard lease expectations, or the model lease and the expectations, they are a tenant. So that relationship will live. And then the tenant and of course the service provider, there's a relationship there. Sometimes it can be pretty intimate, like them really working on very, very deep, appropriate, sometimes life skills that maybe they haven't been taught before, haven't had the opportunity to experience and learn. So that's a very great opportunity for people to grow and become a really great tenant for you. And then go back up to the center with the properties and owners, the tracks and the voucher payments, there's a relationship there. When you submit your rental payments, that's how you're going to get paid. So we need that to be really solid and great because we want you to get your money for the rents. But that it seems like it's pretty automated with submitting electronically. And then we will be doing the drawdowns to be able to get you your checks. But as you get more involved, we can explain the timelines and things for that. And then, of course, we will also be working with tracks because they will be submitting the reports to us. And then we will be getting the voucher payments out to you. So big, funky circle that goes many different ways, two-way path, a lot of times. The eligible tenants, the households are at 30% of area median income or lower. One thing I want to say with this one is if someone moves in and they are required at move-in to be at 30% of area median income or lower, if, let's say a year from now, they have stabilized or have gotten a better paying job or whatever, they would be eligible to stay in that program even if they go over 30% of area median income. So if they bump up to 50% area median income, they can still stay in the unit with the Section 8 voucher. The next one is households with at least one individual meeting the following. They have to be disabled as defined by HUD. That's a very long document. If you want some nighttime reading, I'd be happy to lead you to that. But basically, it will be identified if they are eligible for the community-based services through DHHS, which oftentimes you aren't eligible for unless you are disabled. And then also, this might be a little bit different, but they have to be between the ages of 18 and 62 years of age. If, and again, if they come into the program at 62 years old, they move in today, and in 6 months they turn 63, they are still eligible to keep the Section 8 subsidy and continue to live in the unit. The referrals are going to have to come from an approved agency that DHHS and NIFA will jointly approve to be able to make referrals through our referral process. The units, they have to be integrated. I know I've partaken in many focus groups, and people with disabilities are like, I don't want to live with people like me. I want to live with other people also. And so I think this is a great thing. They have to be integrated throughout the property. And it has to be a total of 5 units or more, which leads me to the next point. 811 PRE units are capped at 25% of the total units, hence why we have to have at least 5 units. Otherwise, 1 unit we wouldn't meet our 25% threshold. So we have to have 25 or less units for 811 in each property. 5% of the units have to be accessible for people with disabilities, and 2% of units have to be accessible for those that are hearing or visually impaired. Properties that are use restricted with existing disability are not eligible for the program because, again, it has to be a mixed use. Units with long-term base subsidies over 6 months and within the prior 6 months are not eligible for Section 811. Income and rent calculation, there are initial and recertification income determination. We're required to calculate the income before they move in, obviously, to make sure that they meet that 30% AMI threshold. And then calculate that income at least annually thereafter. The useful tools that help do this calculation is the handbook 4530.3, specifically Chapter 5, and then the HUD 50059. And I will tell you that some of the property management software has the rent calc modules that are available that actually communicate to tracks. So that will be an easy way to get that over for the voucher payments to ensure they're accurate. EIV is a third-party verification tool. And it is used to compare against reported income to ensure its accuracy. So it can't be the only thing used, but it can be used to verify. So for example, when I used EIV previously, I would run EIV, compare the pay stubs that they had submitted, and if there was a discrepancy, I'd sit down and have a conversation of what is happening here, what is the difference, why don't these match? Oftentimes it was because they got a job and they didn't report that to us. So then we were able to say, we really need the accurate income statements and such. There is one caveat. LIHTC is prohibited from using the EIV to verify income for program requirements. So it has to be kept, the EIV that you run for 811 has to be kept separate from the LIHTC qualification documents. So, and if you want examples of what that looks like, I'm happy to reach out to other states and get examples of how they keep those documents. Other helpful information for this purpose today is we do have to have a affirmative fair housing marketing plan, and the owners and property managers must follow that. We must follow the Section 504 requirements to ensure accessibility for people with disabilities. And then reasonable accommodations must be reviewed and approved when needed. And then the vacancy, I think this is particularly a cool perk of it, is if there is a vacancy rent can be claimed up to 80% of the standard rent amount of the contract rent for up to 60 days. So if a unit is open, we can pay up to 80% for 60 days. Hopefully we can shorten that time frame and keep things moving and get you someone to move in quicker than that, but that is an option. And the unit remains with the program. So if someone moves out, the unit remains with the program per the RAC, even when the tenant moves out, and we will give you the next folks up on the wait list so that you can start reaching out to have them fill out your application and such to see if they are appropriate to move in. Screening requirements, the owners and managers may screen the entire household. That will include the eligible household member, any of their family members, other household members like a spouse or whoever they define as their family, as well as a live-in aide. Oftentimes, folks have to have someone living with them to live on their own. That live-in aid is only screened for suitability and appropriateness for the property, not their income, because their income does not go to the household. That's their own income. But for them to be approved to be living in your unit, they can go through the screening process as well. And then one thing I thought would be good to cover with common myths about 811. One of them is that it is just like Section 8. That is not accurate. Tenant-based vouchers like Section 8 follow the tenant. The 811 vouchers stay with the unit, so they don't follow the tenant. The second one is that the unit must be unoccupied. Since we're focusing on new construction, that probably is going to be true most of the time, but years to come, if we have to identify a new unit, it doesn't mean that it has to be unoccupied. We can actually work with one that's occupied and then contract and then save it for when the person moves out. So there are options there, but probably not this initial round as we work on new construction. Myth number 3 is that the units are required to be accessible. Accessible units aren't required. Some of them are, but not all participants will need them. So not every unit has to be accessible. And again, owners should allow reasonable modifications when needed, such as like a grab bar or things that might be commonly asked for. Number 4, people with disabilities are difficult to house. Certainly, challenges can arise, but we have the supports that are available and in place to ensure a smooth transition. And oftentimes, I know from having been in an 811 world, it results in long-term housing stability, so it can work. And number 5, tenants with disabilities need extensive on-site services from the property. No, property staff do not provide the services. All the services are coming from local service providers, not the owner or manager. So that was the brief overview. I think I saw the chat going, Cassie. So if there are other,
Yeah.
and I pull this up so that while we're talking, you guys can jot down. I put me and Liz from the program development development administration program. Here is our contact information if you would need anything. Okay, Cass.
Okay, Pam, we got a question. It's not Section 811 related.
Okay, perfect.
Are you ready? What is NYFA's annual 9% LIHTC allocation for the current 9% LIHTC funding round in order to calculate the max LIHTC allocation per project and per developer and owner?
Okay, yes, because those numbers don't come out until later in the years, especially since we're forward allocating 2027 credits, we are using what's anticipated or estimated for 2026 that we use. So it's around 6.8, 6.9 million that we will be using as an estimate for the next round.
And then we also had a question on the areas of high opportunity because the link in the application on our website is an old link. In our online application, though, it is up to date, but I also put it in the chat.
Okay, perfect. So in the paper application?
Yeah, it's an
Oh,
old link.
okay. Oh, okay. We'll look at that.
No, we updated it. We'll probably have to
We
fix
did?
it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Was there other questions?
Nope.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to remind everyone that's on the call today that the NYFA Innovation Expo for 2026, the registration is out there. It is April 14th through the 16th with the conference, the lenders training, and then the LIHTC compliance training as well. It is a little different schedule this year, so I want to make sure you guys make sure to look at that. And the link there to look at the website for that is right down in there, and it is expo.nifa.org as well. And it is on the NIFO front page of the website, usually in the bar at the top that changes, but it'll be there as well. And it's on our calendar on the event, under the events, under the about on the NIFA page. And I just wanted to remind everyone that we will have office hours for the application. There will be 3 of them. They won't start until April, and we have tried to accommodate for different times. The registration link is here. It can also be found on the NIFA event calendar on our website with the registration link right there. And they are linked in this PDF, which will be provided on the website as well when we post the recording from today. And then if you have any questions, this is the contact information for Sarah, myself, and Cassandra, and Michelle Grimes's contact information is here as well. Does anyone have any last questions before we end? Thank you, Sarah, for posting the expo.nifa.org in the chat, the link right to the expo. Oh, and Kelly is on the call. I see her now too.
Hi, Pam. I have a question. Do I need to type it in the chat or should I just ask it out loud?
You can ask it right now.
Wonderful. For the 811 vouchers, understanding that the households need to be 30%, but there'll be the voucher income offsetting that. How should we show that in the application workbook? Do we need to underwrite it at a 30% AMI rent in the workbook? Or can there be some higher level of rent anticipated?
For the LIHTC application on the Exhibit 111, you would want to put what you're estimating their rent would be up for the tenant paid rent, obviously, up on the unit information tab. And the excess that you would get from the vouchers would be in the other monthly income section. We will be looking at changing or tweaking our Exhibit 111 to try to accommodate for the vouchers for 811 or other subsidies out there. But for the current time, we ask you to do that just so we can verify that you are, in fact, keeping with the 30% or below AMI.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then we had another question. This one would be for Michelle.
Okay.
Are you still there, Michelle? She's muted. It's just what were the amounts again available for home and HTF for this round?
Okay, $668,631.51 for home. And National Housing Trust Fund is $431,847.36. And this is all that's left in those 2 allocations to get us into our new money in 2026. So maybe just 1 project per each home or HTF for this round.
Okay, we have a
Is there?
question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Is there a minimum of 811 in a development?
So you have to have a minimum of 5 total units in the development. And then the 811 units can be no more than 25%.
Did you hear that, Cass?
Total.
So there's a minimum of 5 total units. The project has to be at least 5 total units. And then we can only go up to 25% of all the units can be 811. And we would want to keep it 11 or under.
Yeah.
So that doesn't trigger Davis-Bacon.
If 1 or 2 units works best for the development, is that enough, or do you guys are expecting to see more than 1 or 2 units for points eligibility?
Well, one of the things to keep in mind is that if it's a small enough project, your 25% might be met pretty quickly. So I think that's one thing we need to keep in mind, but we can discuss this a little further and get that back out in our FAQ if that works best for um, the PM in the room there. I don't know
Yes.
since I'm not there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say that we will discuss internally and make sure that we get that information out there to respond to you to let you know. But I guess we'd have to look at the project size too and what you're looking at. So it may be one of those things. So it's just something we're going to have to discuss and then provide further guidance on.
Absolutely, thank you. The 25%,
Welcome.
the kind of the upper end is what I guess I'm understanding. We can't go over 25%, so it's that lower end. Thank you.
Yeah, and you wouldn't, I mean, to stay out of the Davis-Bacon, you wouldn't want more than 11 units
For sure.
in your development anyways for Section 811 because those can carry some pretty hefty costs if you have to use Davis-Bacon wages and stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Okay, I don't see any more. I want to be mindful of your guys' time. I appreciate everyone attending this webinar and remember that there are 3 office hours. So if you have any other questions, you can make sure to register for those. You can register for all of them, one of them, whatever you would like to do. And you can also send questions to Sarah, Cassandra, and I. We might wait to answer some of those until the office hours because there may be more than one person. We will try to get an FAQ out as well that has a list of all of the questions that we are accumulating for this application round. So everyone is provided the same information. And I hope everyone has a great rest of the day and hopefully maybe I'll see you at the NIFA conference. Thanks.